Family, 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 family. Welcome to the Practical Purpose Podcast. This your boy, Dr. Williams. Y'all let me know if you can hear me in the chat. You can see me. We live today. We live today. I got my brother on today, y'all. We talking about steps and stages today. I'm so excited, man. I got my guy on the show. Man, listen, this guy's so hard to catch up with. So busy. He's so busy, but he's here today. We're going to go in. We're talking about steps and stages. We're finishing part 4 of the principles of process. We're going to go in today. We're going to have an organic conversation about steps and stages in your life, how to progress through them, how to go through them, how to get through them, how God operates in our lives in steps and stages. So I need you to do a few things before we get started. Go on and like it, share it, go over to the YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Go on and share this out early. Get it out to some people because there are people in your life that need to hear about steps and stages. They need to hear about how God is operating in our lives. And we don't always understand it, right? Y'all see the brim. I got the Lakers on. Y'all, I know y'all saw LeBron last night. Hey, listen. That boy special. I know y'all saw it last night. I got some people who watching right now. And I got this hat on just for them. You know, I got it on just for them. Listen, LeBron looked good last night. Now they got to play the Nuggets. Gentleman sweep, 5-1. Go catch my boy Snacks Time, Sports TV. He'll tell you what's about to go down. Gentleman sweep. Here we go. I see my niece say she don't like the hat. Listen, hey, you about to cut the show off now, baby. All right, go on and like, share, subscribe this to as many people as you can. If you're in the Facebook dungeon, share this on Facebook, YouTube, share it. We're going to go in a few minutes. All right, let's go on and hit our question of the day. Question of the day here on the show. Got this question from Pecan Tan. What do you do when you feel undervalued, underappreciated, and overlooked? Oh, my sister, J Action. Lord have mercy. I feel blessed. What do you do? What do you do when you feel undervalued, underappreciated, and overlooked? And the question is broken down relationally as well as professionally, right? So what do you do when you feel like that? Chime in the chat. Let's talk about it. Give me some strategies. Let's talk about it from the relational standpoint first. What do you do when you feel overlooked, when you feel underappreciated? For me, I think one thing that's important in any relationship that you're in, that's not necessarily a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, any relationship, is effective communication. Right. So a lot of times you go to counseling, you talk to people, they'll talk about communicating. But communication is only effective when the person you're communicating with understands what you're attempting to convey to them. Right. So sometimes we are masters of communicating, but we don't know how to break communication down in a fashion where it's effective, where the other person can get it. Right. And so I think when you feel in a relationship, you feel undervalued, it's important to effectively communicate those feelings. Y'all can help me out in the chat and let me know what you think. But I think it's important to effectively communicate those feelings. Like, for example, my wife, she's not a texter. So me trying to communicate effectively through text is not going to work with her. But there are other relationships that I have, like with my siblings, where text messages is the primary means of communication, and it's effective that way. Pecan Tan says, relationally, I think we should communicate. However, sometimes that's a one-way street, right? So any relationship has to be two people working at it, right? Two people have to be working at whatever their deficiencies are. And those feelings make you feel vulnerable. Whew. And sometimes we avoid. We don't like vulnerability, right? We don't like that. Dr. Brene Brown. I've mentioned her a bunch of times. Her book is somewhere on this shelf. Talks about being vulnerable in relationships, right? So I think when you're feeling undervalued, underappreciated, it's important that you hone in on your effective communication skills, knowing how to tap into getting people to know how you feel, and how they can play a role and play a part in correcting that, right? In correcting that. And I think it's important to affirm your feelings too. Sometimes it's important to know that your feelings are valid, right? They're valid. And so the second part of that question was about professionally. Listen, I've been there. I've been there where you feel like you've been grinding, you've been working, and somebody else gets the promotion, somebody else gets the bonus, the raise, whatever the case may be. I think I did a leadership video on the YouTube page a while ago about that, and I think one thing you have to do is just keep the right perspective, right? The people who mean the most to you, they appreciate the work that you do. They know the grind that you're putting in every day. And the old folks used to say, you just put your time in, right? Because payday coming after a while, right? Pecan Tan says, put in that 2 weeks. Yeah, try that if you want to. Some people can do that. I can't. So I really think you've got to keep the right perspective, and you just got to keep doing the work. Like I see a lot of people, they post their accomplishments on social media. Great. I think you should do that. One thing that I always reply with is keep doing the work, right? Because it's that consistency. It's that consistency. I think Denzel Washington says that you need commitment to start, but you need consistency to finish, right? And so it's always important and key that you keep doing the work that you're doing, even when you feel overlooked, right? Even when you feel like opportunities are passing you by. And I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit on the show today, but that's also a part of steps and stages, right? Sometimes you're going to be overlooked. You're going through those seasons, but closed doors are just as important as open doors, right? And so it's important to understand and know that when you're overlooked, there's a bigger picture. Oftentimes we look at life as if it's not chess. God is always playing chess, right? He's always playing chess, even when we can't see around the corner. We can see far enough, and he can see further than that, right? All right. So today we're finishing up our series on steps and stages, our series on principles of process, right? We talked about last time thriving in the process, right? We talked about things that you need to tap into if you're going through the process, right? Whatever that process may be, it may be in your professional life, it may be relationally, it could even be just becoming a better person, right? We talked about the process and that everything in our life is a process, right? From beginning to end, right? And God works in processes, right? In procedures, in regulations, and rules. God is working in those things. He creates laws for us to be able to operate within those parameters. So to close this out, we got my boy, my guy. I got an intro for him. He don't know I had these receipts. Now I keep receipts. He don't know I had these receipts I'm about to drop. He don't know I had his intro for him. But man, this guy right here, man, has been my best friend since 2005. So it's been a long time. We've seen each other grow. He's like a accountability partner. He's a friend. He was my real estate agent. He's the best real estate agent in the world. But if you're in Columbia and Orangeburg, you need to holler at him because he'll get you right. Not only that, man, but financial guru, married to a lovely wife, Dr. Berry, who's a speech pathologist and does so much. They do so much in the community, so much for people. They run a Bible study in Orangeburg called The Hill for young adults, right? So it's so many things they're doing. Two beautiful, beautiful children, champions, superstars in the making. And so I'm just happy to have him on today. We've been trying to get him on for a while. But we're going to be talking about steps and stages. And I'm gonna bring him on, but y'all watch this.
Like, man, I want to have those same stories one day. And he really couldn't say anything at that point. But what I failed to realize was that the longer it took me to pursue God, the longer it's going to take me to know my purpose. The longer it took me to pursue God, the longer my purpose was going to stay somewhere that I knew nothing about. I want you to understand that sometimes we may think we got time. We got time. We'll do it at some point. You know, I'm going to seek God at some point. When I get older, and I'm talking to some of you students, when I get older, man, when I get about 30-something, that's when I'm going to really get serious about God. But as you know, some people didn't make it back after the summer. Some people didn't make it up this morning. But the longer we put that off, we don't realize that tomorrow is not promised. I know we're in a culture right now where, I mean, things look good, and I want the money, I want the bag. That's what they call it. I want to go after the bag, you know. Or I want to go. I want to show off in these clothes, or get this car so I can impress this person. But none of that really matters. I know I'm saying that, but after I done grew up somewhat, and I understand that, man, you know, those things cost money. But no matter how many things you get, at some point you're gonna still have an empty void somewhere, and only one person can fulfill that void, and that's Christ.
My brother,
What's up,
my
man?
brother, Wilmont Berry.
Oh man, you got me on that one, brother.
You know I had that footage.
Oh
Listen,
man, I couldn't even find that footage, to be honest
listen.
with you.
I hit him up, y'all. I said, man, send me the footage of that lesson you taught down there at Cornerstone in Orangeburg. And he was like, it's too old. They took it down. But I keep receipts, man.
Keep receiving. Oh wow.
I
Yeah,
keep receipts, man. Welcome to the dungeon. Listen, no, it's a pleasure to have you on. And these are conversations that y'all, me and Barry have all the time. I told you we have a mastermind group, and we talk all the time, man. But Barry, we're gonna do some rapid fire first,
all
right?
right.
So I'm gonna throw some questions at you, and you just answer them. You know, simple questions so that
Gotcha.
the audience can get to know who you are before we dig into steps and stages. All
Yeah.
right. So tell us what your occupation is and how your past experiences had prepared you for that occupation.
Oh, wow. So I own a real estate company. I I sell. I own a real estate company. Okay, but I help people, reach their goals in real estate. Uh, I used to be a insurance adjuster,
Mm,
so I used to help people when they needed help, had damages with their homes, and needed someone to kind of help them. Uh, they just wanted to be paid from the insurance company, right? But I was more than just paying them money. I was a counselor, and I see that now that comes in handy dealing with people trying to maybe purchase a home or sell their property. So yeah.
right. Okay, man. And I'll tell y'all, man. When I was selling my home and trying to build another one, man, that was probably the roughest season of my life, man. I still got the text messages from
Oh man.
Barry, man, and it was he was very encouraging during that process.
Yeah, man.
Barry, what city and state are you in, and where do you serve as far as your real estate company?
Orangeburg, South Carolina. I serve Orangeburg and the surrounding areas. So if you're in Somerville, Charleston, Columbia, Denmark, surrounding areas, I'll be able to help you.
All
Even
right,
go, I even go as far as Greenville if need be. So
right, right.
yeah.
Okay. Give us your top three hobbies. What do you do aside from working your business?
Oh, that's easy. What I like to do, I like to fish, I like to hunt, and I like to play golf. Whether I get time to do it, that's another question. So
Hey, Barry about 78 years old, y'all.
I'm a country boy, so you
Hey,
see, yeah,
that man said fish, hunt, and play golf.
yeah,
Listen,
that's
man,
it.
you ready for retirement already?
That's it. That's it, brother.
My God, my God. If you can be anything other than what you are, what would it be?
I think you know this one. I would be a financial trader.
Okay.
Yeah. hmm
Hmm.
Trading securities, stocks, options, forex, whatever that might be. So
Right,
yeah.
right, right. Yeah, yeah, y'all. So me and Barry went to college together. And so man, this dude had like three computer screens in a dorm room.
Yep.
And he was
Yep.
in there, I'm going out, I'm doing whatever. The man was in there trading currency. Like I'm talking about in college, when
Yep.
when you're supposed to be, having the best time of your life. This man had three computer screens in the dorm room. Up at 3 in the morning. Like I hear the alarm going off 3 in the morning, waking up
Yeah.
to trade currency, man.
Yeah. And you know why that was, right? Because with currency, in London, that's when it's 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when the market opens around
Right,
4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
right. Yeah, man. Like and so for me to witness that grind, you know what I'm saying? People they take it for granted, but when you find someone that grinds when they don't necessarily have to grind, right? It makes a big deal. It leaves an impression on people. So that, now me and Barry, we got some stories, but that one left a huge impression on me, because while I was out not trying to take things serious or not trying to take life serious, um, this man was trading currency at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And
Man,
and it was encouraging. It was
but
encouraging.
bro, hey, like I can go back. There are times when I wish I would have went harder.
Right.
Back in the day, it was a lot of time I wasted. We
Right.
wasted. Put it like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we wasted a lot of time. I remember, man, this dude would say, I ain't going to party, I got to study. I'm like, man, I study in the morning, Hey, well, he was focused. And I'm not saying we were
I was right
focused
there with
all
you.
the time,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
those are moments I definitely remember, man.
yeah.
Um, Greatest accomplishments professionally and personally. What are your greatest accomplishments?
Oh man. Ooh. My mind just goes towards my family, bro. Being a dad, being a husband, uh, being able to be, a provider and a dad that's there for his kids. I will say that's probably my greatest accomplishment right now. Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. Um,
Professionally, I didn't talk about that.
yeah.
Well, so being able to walk away from my job, bro, I never forget.
Wow.
Being able to send that 2 weeks notice in, bro, that was a moment for me. And yeah, there you go, pecan. Being able to send that 2 weeks notice in, I'll never forget that moment, bro. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. And I remember the moments, man. Like I remember when you were trading and traveling all the time. Every time a storm hit somewhere in America, you was there. Um,
man. Oh
Making
man,
sure people was taken care of, man.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Last question for the rapid fire. What is the greatest lesson you've learned so far in life?
Mm. I'm gonna give credit to Rosa Berry for this one, man. I always kept this one close to my chest. God first,
Right.
family second, career last. That priority,
Right.
making sure I put him first, then my family second, my career last. Everything will work out. So yeah,
Right. Right. And that's so hard to do, man. That's so hard to do, because so often we get caught up in the cares of this world, right? Like that's how the scripture puts it. Like the things that don't necessarily mean anything. Kind of what you were saying in that message. And for y'all that don't know, the message was called Pursuit, and he was talking about how we need to pursue after the things of God, not after the worldly things. And we
Yeah.
talk about that a lot on this broadcast. But it's so hard to stay focused when life happens, right? Or yeah, we live in a society now that puts a focus on materialistic things that have no bearing on eternity, right? That really have no
Mm,
bearing, like you said in the clip, on fulfillment, because there's always going to be a void, right?
mm,
Always going to
mm.
be a void. And when you talk about providing for family, that's one thing that really fills you up when you can see your kids smiling, you can see your wife smiling,
Yeah.
because of the hard work that you put in to be able to provide. That's a
Mhm,
blessing. So,
mhm.
so, so we're talking about steps and stages, y'all. We're talking about steps and stages, um, and we got a few minutes. But Barry brought this scripture to me a long time ago. I don't even remember how, but it's in Mark, Mark chapter 4:28. I'm gonna let him go in and kind of talk about his experiences with this. But it says, "The earth bringeth forth fruit of itself. First the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear." And he read that to me one day, and I was, sometimes you read the Bible and it's like, man, I don't know what I don't know what that means. But over time, I saw him being able to kind of explain what that means in the form of steps and stages, man. So can you talk to us a little bit about that verse, and how that compares to, or how that explains how God works in steps in our life?
Bro, so you know, uh, leading up to this, man, I was preparing, and there's a if you go back to two verses, right? So I'm gonna read the two
Mhm.
verses right before we get into that one.
Right,
And it says, the kingdom of God is like this. He said, a man scatters seed on the ground. He sleeps and rises night and day. The seed sprouts and grows, although he doesn't know how. Okay. Then it goes into the earth bringing fruit of herself.
right.
I think that's so important, bro. And I'm gonna get into that because it's like I remember this is why this scripture, I guess, sticks with me so much, man. I remember growing up watching my dad plant corn,
Hmm.
right? I would watch him. I lived on a farm, had the whole deal, hogs, had cows back there, had the whole thing. My dad had tractors, and I would see him. He'll get the seed in the bag, he'll put it in the planter. We'll hop on the tractor and we'll go down each row. And I didn't understand it. But while we were going down each row, seeds were being planted, right?
Right,
And I was like, okay, all I could see was lines. I couldn't see nothing else but just lines in the ground. And then I asked my dad, I said, Daddy, where the corn at? Like we planted the corn. I was like, where is it? Like where when we gonna eat this corn, you know? So
right, right,
and and I thought this was, if you look at that verse, he said he sleeps and rises night and day, the seed sprouts and grows, although he doesn't know how. Once that seed goes in the ground, bro, something amazing happens.
right.
Something amazing happens. Soon as it goes in the ground, the earth bringeth fruit of herself. Okay.
Explain that.
I was
Explain that, because you said before, and I quoted it on the podcast a while ago. You don't eat the fruit the same day you plant the seed,
you don't. You
right?
don't.
And it's a concept of the earth bringing forth fruit of itself
Mhm.
that I didn't understand, or I wasn't able to explain it, right?
So 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 if you look at in the King James, it says of itself, of herself, right?
Right.
So in the Greek, that means automatos,
Hmm.
which stands for automatic. Okay. So if you read it like this, the earth bringing fruit automatic,
Right.
right?
Right.
So like, bro, it's so good because like we don't go into the ground and say and do something to the seed. What happens is the seed goes in, and whatever the earth brings out of it, that's what occurs. Okay. And the
Right.
and the earth is ourselves. The earth is our heart. Okay. The earth is our soul. Okay. So whatever we pour in, that's what we're going to get out. But you understand this, coming back to the subject, is it happens in steps and stages. You
Right.
don't get it, you don't get the seed, you don't get the harvest the day you plant it. Okay.
Right.
There's
Right.
a process, and that's
Mm.
how God operates in the process.
Right.
Okay. First the blade. Okay. First the
Mm-hmm.
blade. Whew, boy, you gonna make me all right. So so the blade, so guys,
Dungeon
so
family, go on and get in the
all
chat.
right. So when you plant the seed, let's say you plant corn, right? This is how I
Right.
know it. Plant corn, the first thing you see is this little, it looks like a blade of grass that pops up through the
Right.
surface.
Right.
And I was like, and I remember asking my dad, I said, Dad, where I said, where's the corn? He said, it's right there. And
Right.
all I could see was just blades going through in one row. I was like, I don't see no corn. I don't see, I'm thinking about the corn you see on a can,
Right.
when you walk in the store.
Right.
So
Right.
but understanding that's the first visible sign of growth.
Mm.
Okay. First
Mm.
visible sign of growth, the blade. So think about it like this. Let's just say we are trying to, let's say, start a business, right?
Mhm.
Or
Right.
whatever, start something.
Right.
And you get that first check
Mm-hmm.
from whatever you sell or whatever you produce.
Right.
That's the first sign of visible growth.
Right.
Okay. But understand that there was something happening even before that blade came through the ground. Okay. The root system was trying to grow itself as well. So that might be you learning whatever you need to learn. That
Mm-hmm.
might be you pursuing a education and whatever it might be. Like for instance, with real estate, bro, before I could sell a house, I had to get my license.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I had
So
to go to class. Go ahead.
so we can't just put the seed in the ground.
Nah.
We can't just put it in the ground and not expect to see something coming up, right? So
Mm,
so and I think sometimes this kind of goes with steps and
mm.
stages.
Go
When you
ahead.
said the ear is first, right?
Mm,
Or
mm.
the blade,
The
first the
blade.
blade,
First the
right?
blade.
And sometimes we don't look at those small incremental steps towards success, right? And
Mm,
I said this before, but small steps are still steps, right? And
yeah,
so when you didn't see the corn, subconsciously you thought nothing was happening,
yeah. You know why
right?
though? But you know why? I was looking at a finished product instead of looking at how it actually happens. That's
Right,
what we mess up at a lot of times, B Will.
right.
And if you don't mind me calling you B Will, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you Dr. Williams,
We in the dungeon. We in the
So
dungeon.
I think that's what we mess up a lot at.
Right,
I
right,
think we look at the finished product. I was looking at the harvest
right. But
instead
but
of
but
look.
see, but see,
Mhm,
and that's what we get. Like
mhm,
so on the show, and I know you know plenty about the Practical Purpose podcast. A lot of the followers are church folk. We all
mm,
church folk. And when we get up on Sunday,
mm.
that's all we hear is harvest. That's all we hear is harvest. Sow your seed, reap your harvest. But the scripture says it's seed, time, and harvest.
Seed time.
Right. And
Seed
time is
time.
like this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we miss that during that time, there's some things happening in the ground that we don't see, that we don't necessarily know is happening. But every Sunday when we come to church, they keep talking about harvest, and we don't see harvest. So we keep planting seeds other places
Mm,
instead of being fruitful and being diligent and consistent with what we have planted before, right?
mm. Yeah.
And like you said, I think we're looking for finished products, but we're not looking at at small steps. And
Small
I wrote
step.
I wrote this quote down. This is by Lei Zhou. He was a Chinese philosopher and he was a guru as far as war. He wrote a book called War,
Mm,
and he said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
one step.
And we miss that. We miss that because if we were to really take inventory of our lives, we talked about this last podcast about how we say that thriving, we look outside for what thriving means. But
Mm-hmm.
thriving means that you're growing.
Mm,
And so you
mm,
can't grow unless you're planted.
exactly.
You can't get the nutrients from the ground if you're on top of the ground. You
Exactly.
got to be planted in something to grow, and it's difficult. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think we miss that a lot. We've made um believing in Christ, and we made Christianity something that is pie in the sky by and by, right?
Yeah.
We've missed the fact that it's something that you got to grind at. Like you
Yeah.
got to work, and you only see small incremental steps. Go ahead. I see you about to release.
Bro, I'm so dude, we can stay the whole show on just first the blade, okay?
Right, right.
Because I just think that the way our culture is set up, we are set up in a way that we want we want results in microwave time, right?
Mhm.
But because we're bombarded with someone else's success, what they're doing, where they're going, all of these different things, we get bombarded. We're thinking, well, we're not moving fast enough.
Right.
When in actuality, bro, there in actuality, you have to just embrace the space that you're in.
Mm.
And if you embrace that space, you'll realize God might be protecting you from something that he sees later on down the road. Bro, oh man. So if you think about it like this, as a dad, as a
Mhm.
parent, right? There that we know that they're not ready for,
Right.
right?
Right.
We will be bad parents if we gave them everything they wanted right now.
Right.
Okay. For
Right.
for example, I know right now if I ask my daughters what you want, I can almost 9 times out of 10, if I take them to the store, they want candy. Okay.
Right.
Well, do I want to give them candy? Yeah. I want them to enjoy candy. But should I always give them candy? No,
Right.
no, they can't handle it. They can't handle
Mm.
all of that.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Look at that. PK and Tan said protection and patience.
That's good. That'll preach right there.
Listen, and I was listening to an interview one day this week with Shannon Sharpe and Steve Harvey.
Uh,
And I like listening to interviews. That don't mean I agree with everything that's being said, but I love listening to interviews because you learn about people from these
mhm.
interviews, right? And
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Harvey said if he was getting the checks he get now when he was 30, he said he would have been dead by now because he
Exactly.
wouldn't have known what to do with what he was asking for. And
Exactly.
sometimes closed doors, like we said earlier, are just as important in our lives as open doors
Yeah.
because this is something about the steps and the stages that build character and build things in us, right? I heard TD Jake say God didn't put anything on the elevator.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, like anybody who elevates just that quickly,
mm,
you got to question whether or not that was God or not, right? And so, like you say, we living in a
mm.
society that is microwavable. Listen, Christy says the process is critical if you want a fruitful harvest. It's the process. It's something that's
Exactly.
happening there, right? And we overlook that blade
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're looking at the finished product, right? We want the finished product. And here's the crazy part about that, Barry. We compare ourselves to other people, thinking that what we see is their finished product. And sometimes it's not their finished
Exactly.
product, right? And sometimes we don't know what process had to happen for them to get to where they are. And so it's a
Exactly.
scripture that says, this is one of your favorite scriptures because you quote it all the time. It basically says it's foolish for you to compare yourselves to someone else. I think it's in
Yeah.
Romans chapter 1,
Yeah.
right? It's foolish for us to do that because you don't know the story behind what somebody else has been through.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's critical. I think that's key. But you said first the blade, which is
First the
which
blade.
symbolizes that it's a small
Yeah.
incremental thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's powerful. I think that's powerful.
I'm gonna say this one thing, be well. You have to be thankful for the blade.
Right.
You have to appreciate the blade. I remember when I first got in real estate, and I sold my first house,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, Lord, I thank you for the blade. That was my
Mm.
blade. Okay, whatever you do, and you see some type of, hey, I'm moving in the right direction. That's your blade. You know,
Right.
that small incremental growth. That's your blade. Be
Right.
grateful for that blade, but
Right.
continue to walk in it though. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're only looking at perfection
Mm.
over process, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you're it's a book, it's on the shelf somewhere too, called Atomic Habits. We talked about that before. I think we read it together.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he said the 10% rule in that book. He
Mm.
talked about it. He said if you're 10% better than you were yesterday, then over the span of time,
1% better. Yeah.
1%, it was 1%.
Just
You're
1% better.
1% better. Then
Mhm.
over the span of time, you're going to be incrementally better than you are now. And
Yeah.
I think that's the blade.
That's the blade.
Being 1% better than you were before,
Exactly.
right? But there's so much that happens in that ground that causes that blade to come up, right? So it's
Yeah.
the blade is small, but everything that it takes, right? Because you got to bury that seed,
Mhm.
you've got to water that seed.
Mhm. Mhm.
That seed has to break out of its original shell,
Mhm.
right? Which
Mhm.
is a process. I heard Dr. Dale C. Bronner said if an egg breaks from the inside is life. If it breaks from the outside is death. Right? Because the seed has to break. It's a whole process. It's
That's
like
good.
birth, giving birth,
That's
right?
it.
It doesn't happen when everything is light. It
Mm.
happens in the dark when there's struggle. And so this whole series that we've been talking about, principles of process, we've been talking about the fact that nothing that is of substance in our life, number one, happens without other people, but number two, happens in great times.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
built in us in that seed, that burial process, right?
Mhm.
All right. So
Mhm.
it said first the blade. Keep going. Keep keep going.
First the blade, then the ear.
Right.
Okay. All right. So if you think about it like this, I want to give you a visual. So you see that little blade of grass, and then it starts to grow, and it's creating like a stalk. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's like think about my arm going up out of the ground. And what happens is on that stalk, there's an ear that comes out, but there's no corn on the ear yet. Okay.
Right.
There's no corn on the ear, but it's an ear. It's preparing
Mm.
for the corn. Okay. This is one of the most important stages for that plant or that crop right here.
This that country boy talk, y'all. This that
Yeah.
country boy talk.
Yeah. This is didn't know, God was gonna give me a revelation on this when I'm 36.
Right.
So but this is that nourishment stage. This is where nourishment is most important at this stage when developing. Okay.
Right.
There's a quote. It says, if you nourish it, it will flourish. I'm gonna say it one more time. If you nourish, it will flourish. Meaning
Somebody put that in the chat. Somebody
this
put
is
that in the chat for me.
this is that consistency. This is that
Mm.
persistence. Okay. This is
Mhm.
this is where the rubber meets the road right here. Whether or not you're going to produce the harvest at the end of this process, being able to make sure, hey, am I watering my, let's put it in practical sense. Hey, if I'm growing, if I want to grow closer to God, hey, am I feeding myself what I need on a daily basis in order for me to build my relationship with God? Hey,
Right.
if I'm producing, if I'm if there's a business that I want to start or whatever, hey, am I putting the necessary things, doing the necessary things daily in order for my business to be successful?
Right.
Remember that book I talked to you about called The One Thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
talked about the success list
Right.
and the
And the
to-do
to-do
list,
list. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So a lot of times, let's just say, hey, we might make excuses. Hey, I'm busy, man. I can't. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But you're not really tackling what's on your success list. You're doing all these to-do things
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
So, but the reason I'm talking about that is because the success list is actually going to move you forward.
Right. Right. Because
That
the
could
success list is
exactly.
is connected directly to your goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I explain
Exactly.
success and to do. To
Mm-hmm.
do is stuff you can do it today or not. You don't have to do it today. But
It's maintenance.
success lists are things you need to do every day that's connected to where you want to go. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
and when you skip those things,
Mm,
consistently skip those things, then you're not going to be able to reach the goals that you've got set before you. But
yeah.
you said, when you said if you nourish it, it'll flourish. There's a tails to that coin too.
Go ahead.
Whatever you nourish
Yeah.
is going to flourish. So
What
if
you
you
talking about?
don't nourish the right stuff,
Yeah.
you'll find yourself like Jonathan McReynolds say, in cycles,
Mm,
right? and
mm-hmm.
and we do that, and that's why the first series we did this year was called Begin Again,
Mm,
because so often life just lifes, like
mm,
life just happens.
mm,
And I talked about this on the last show. My aunt passed, that's almost a month ago now. And for that time period, there were things that I normally do that I just wasn't able to do. And
mm-hmm.
so I had to go back to my own teaching on beginning again,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to start nourishing the wrong stuff,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
And so whatever you nourish will flourish, and that works in the negative too. When you feed
Exactly.
yourself the wrong stuff, it's a quote I wrote down. You are always one decision away from a completely different life.
Yeah. That's it.
One decision away from a completely different life. I tell my students at school, daily decisions determine destiny. What you
Mm,
do every day, right, is what
yeah.
determines that. And it's that nourishment, right? And it's that blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start to see progress happening towards your goals in the process, whatever that process is.
But bro, it's so hard though. Let's be real. It's
Right,
hard
right,
because let's look at it in terms of uh, health, right? You go to the gym one day, right?
right,
You don't see no results in one day. You might not see results in 1 week
right.
going to the gym. So what that does to your mind is thinking, like, I ain't seeing no
This ain't
results.
working.
I don't see it. But this is but what that is this is before the blade. Okay, this is before the blade, right?
Right.
Because you don't see it working, but it's working,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
But then a week or two pass or three. Guess what? Oh man, look at I might have lost a pound or two.
Right.
Look at your arms and start getting a little cut up and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Look at
Shirt getting a little tight on your
look
arms.
look at my blade. Look at
Right.
my blade. But then the consistency and the persistence,
Mhm.
over a period of time, not really you're nourishing
Mm.
that area of your life. You see
And,
what I'm
and
saying?
right. And see,
Mm-hmm.
what happened is what happens, especially when you start dealing with church folk, Christians,
Uh-huh.
we think that whenever God does something in our life,
Yeah.
we see the results of it immediately.
Suddenly. That's what they say.
Suddenly. Yeah, suddenly, right?
Suddenly.
And God does do some suddenly things in our life where you immediately see a result.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of we talked about this before, the story of the fig tree.
Go
Jesus
ahead.
curses the fig tree, right?
Go ahead.
But it's the next day. They
Go
saw him
ahead.
curse it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
next day when they come back and they say, this fig tree done withered up.
Mm,
When,
mm,
when,
mm,
he,
mm.
when he cursed the fig tree, something started happening as soon as he did it. But the results of it, the visible results, wasn't seen till 24 hours later. And sometimes we miss the fact that God is working even when we don't see him working.
Mm.
He's working even when we don't see it. Like Darius Daniel say, he on this side of the bookshelf. Darius Daniel say, when he doing something, he doing something.
And when he
And
ain't doing
when he
something,
ain't doing something,
he
he
doing
doing
something.
something. Right. So it's I think it's paramount for us to understand that the process doesn't happen overnight. It's
It doesn't.
it's steps and stages.
But so I hope we don't go
Go ahead.
another end on
We
this.
in the dungeon, man.
But bro, it's like God wants the best for you, right?
Right.
He wants you to live in the blessed life.
Right.
He don't want you living from miracle to miracle. He wants you to live from blessing to blessing,
Right.
glory to glory,
Right.
right?
Right.
So in the process, the the better life for you is living in the blessed life. Hey, you building up he wants you to actually mature. He wants you to actually become disciplined. He wants you to actually become consistent. These are attributes he wants to build in you, right?
Right.
But if it's just given to you suddenly, you can't learn it that way.
Mm, mm. And that's my daddy said this before. I know he watching. He be saying stuff he don't even think we be remembering what,
Mm,
what he said. But he said it's not God's will for you to live from miracle to miracle.
it's not.
Because what a miracle is, it's a supernatural.
Exactly.
When God got to suspend his laws, you
Exactly.
got to be in a bad place for that to happen. And
Yeah,
if you consistently in a bad place, you not doing something right.
you don't want to be you don't want to always have to need a miracle. That's not a great life to live.
Right.
You know, it's like Lord, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my mortgage this month. I'm gonna need a miracle. You
Right.
know,
Right. You
I'd
shouldn't have to
rather
do that 12 times in a year.
oh man, nah, bro. I want to be blessed to the point where I know I'm be able to take care of my light bill. You
Right.
know,
Right.
no offense to you if you can't pay your light bill. You know, I'm just saying, God wants you to be in that blessed life, not
Right.
a life from miracle to miracle. That's all
Right.
I'm saying. Yeah,
Right. And it takes time
it does.
to get there. Like you could be in that stage right now where that's where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got to understand this concept of steps and stages, because if you understand this concept, it's like the old folk used to say, trouble don't last always. Like it's eventually
Mm-hmm.
going to
Mm-hmm.
be gone
Mm-hmm.
if I do my
Mm-hmm.
part. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just sit back and say God going to do this for me. He does things for us,
Mm-hmm.
but he also desires to do things through us. And when
Exactly.
we walk in his principles,
Exactly.
then we begin to see
Yeah.
those blessings line up.
Exactly.
Those blessings are really it's provision
Mm-hmm.
for us,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to tap into it.
Application of his
Application.
word.
Right,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right. So you said the blade. I got to pull up the text, boy.
The ear.
The ear,
Uh-huh.
right? And then
Then
you
the
said the full corn in the ear.
This is then the full corn in the ear. This is that finished product. This is it. This is the harvest.
Right.
Okay. Showing you, so you seen the process, the blade, the ear, the full corn, and the ear. Okay.
Mhm.
So, but throughout that process, you got to understand now, when I have the harvest, I'm built for it, right? I can handle the weight. Because understand this, when the corn comes on the ear, it has weight on it. Okay.
Mm,
So the stock, the foundation of that plant has to be ready for the harvest. Think about it. If I were to put that ear of corn on the blade, it would crush it.
right. Immediately.
It would crush it. But because God took me through this process,
Mm,
I've been through storms. I've been through the rain,
hmm
the wind.
Go ahead, boy. You sound like a Baptist preacher
My
right now.
my root system is rooted where it needs to be,
Right.
right?
Right.
I'm built for this now. I can handle the weight,
Right.
you know.
Right. And that
This
that that doesn't happen if you don't go through the steps.
it doesn't. Too it doesn't, bro. Like
And I think that's why we see people fall
mm,
so quickly, or not even so quickly, but it seems quick, but sometimes it's not quick, but it's inevitable.
yeah, yeah,
Like you see things happening, and I don't want to just talk about it from a Christian standpoint when you say
yeah,
pastors, but
yeah.
you see people who skip the process in life, in
Mm,
profession, in their professions. They cheat that process. On the last show, I said if you cheat the process, you devalue the product,
mm,
right? So when you cheat that process, when you finally make it to that chair, to that seat at the
yeah,
table,
yeah,
you're not built for it. You're not able to sustain it
yeah,
because you didn't go through the stuff that prepared you for it. It's like playing sports,
yeah,
right? So my son now, Caleb is 10. Caleb playing everything. Like they do soccer right now. He
yeah,
got basketball next week, starting flag football, and he does basketball training.
yeah.
So he just turned on YouTube and watched Steph Curry drain 3-pointers.
That's all he see, right?
That's
Yeah,
all they see.
yeah.
Not
I can
not
do that.
knowing that Steph Curry is making 500 shots a day, not shooting 500,
Making.
making 500 shots a day. That part of the process
Mm,
is what prepared him for what he's doing now.
yeah,
And so
man.
sometimes we look at the performance of people. We look at the gifts and the talents that they have and think that they don't have to cultivate that. But
Oh,
you have to cultivate whatever the gift is that you have
right.
if you're going to be able to sustain that gift on the highest levels,
Yeah.
right? That's a part I think of the process. But let me tap into something else
Go ahead,
you
brother.
said a while ago. You didn't say it on this podcast, but we talked about this a while ago, and you talked about how steps and stages happen when you get around the right people.
Mm,
You talked about proximity. That we talked
mhm,
about that might have been over a year ago now.
yeah.
Um, and how doors open when you get in the right vicinity of things,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And I heard TD Jake say this. He said when you're going in the grocery store, the way those doors open, you just got to get close to the door,
oh, wow.
and it
Absolutely.
opens.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
sometimes we isolate ourselves so much. There's
yeah,
a process when you plant that seed that there is some isolation, right? Sometimes you have to isolate yourself for a season before you can start moving into what you want to move into, right? Like even
mhm,
Paul was in the desert for I don't remember, it was 40 days or something like that. Like there's an isolation period that has to happen. But
mhm,
then you got to start putting yourself in the right positions
mhm,
so that the steps
mhm,
that you're
mhm,
taking
mhm.
are ordered,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Right. Remember
Mhm,
Joseph? He didn't put himself in jail. God was orchestrating it, but everything that happened because of what God was doing
yeah.
happened because he just happened to get around the right person. You remember when he was in jail and the guy
Mhm,
got out of jail and he said, "Well, I remember this guy Joseph that was in jail with me. He just happened to be around the right people." So that proximity is key to taking steps in our life And we've said this before, that God doesn't order steps you don't take. And so when you're moving, trying to get to a place of success,
Yeah.
you gotta put yourself in those right positions.
Yeah, bro. I literally, God always kind of speaks to me. He speaks to me in different ways, but one of the ways is through my kids,
Right.
right? So Savannah's in
That's
gymnastics.
humbling. That's humbling too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Always. Savannah's in gymnastics, and you talk about proximity, right? So there was a period of time when Savannah got to the point where she was the best in her gym,
Right.
right? I kind of didn't like that. I'm gonna just be honest.
Right.
So I went to gymnastics the other day, and this was this new kid there, and she was on a whole nother level, bro.
Right.
Like, and I was like, oh man. So I was kind of excited. So when I got in the car, I asked my daughter about it. I said, hey, how was practice today? And you should have seen her eyes.
Right.
Like they opened up. They her emotions were like, oh my God. Did you see her at practice? Because she was in proximity with someone greater,
Right.
it opened her mind,
Right.
bro. Like now she's like, okay, how do I get better? How do I get like that? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Before it was like, practice. Hey, I do what she does, and she's better than everyone else.
Right.
But after seeing someone greater, being in
Right.
proximity around someone like that, it changed her whole mindset.
Right. I think Nipsey Hussle said, if you the smartest one in your circle, you need another circle.
You know, the circle, bro. Yeah,
Right. So that's key.
yeah.
Another part I think too, Barry, that we miss when it comes to those steps and stages
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes, listen to this, sometimes our life moves faster than our mentality.
Mm.
So and that's a two-edged sword, because life happens fast.
Yeah,
Right.
it does.
Sometimes you get into a position where God has blessed you to sit in that seat. You've been through the steps, but mentally you still discount your greatness, like your abilities. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do that in the name of being humble,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when that's not humility.
Mm.
Right? If you're blessed with a gift,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody say, "Man, you a great speaker," and I say, "Nah, I ain't no speaker. I ain't no good.
Mm.
I'm discounting the gift that I was given."
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Now, there's a fine line between being arrogant with it, right? But I think sometimes your mentality, we go through the steps. God has put the character traits in us, the intangibles that we need. Then we finally get to that full corn on the ear, but
Mm-hmm.
we still think like a blade.
Mm. Mm.
Right? We don't think like, my mentality has to shift, because the higher you go up, I tell people this all the time, you're getting paid more to solve bigger problems. You
You
getting paid
do.
for more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get in those seats, you can't continue to think like you're not in that seat anymore, or you're
Mm-hmm.
not worthy to be in that seat, from the standpoint that you don't have the ability to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, man, we get promoted outwardly, like the question of the day, but our mindset doesn't shift.
Mindset. We don't. We go to each level head first.
Right. Mm.
Well, we don't go to the next level. We unless our head it gets there first. You
Right.
know. So
Right.
it's a mindset thing, bro. It's being around. That's a. I think that's proximity. That's part of proximity. Who you
Right.
around. And then
Right.
also, I believe it's a part of personal development as well.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right. So yeah, like I think that's key, man. I think one thing that I take away from, because what people don't know is, you talk about this all the time. Like this is like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna say this. This is like the staple of your life.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, I
yeah,
think, as you grow, as you study, as you learn, there are certain things that you feel like was put in the Bible, in the text, just for you. Like
Yeah.
you've seen it,
Yeah.
right? And for some people, there's a lot of things, but
Yeah.
this
Exactly.
right here, like just thinking about your life and just having known you for 20 years, I've seen this in your life. Like I remember when you started real estate, and I told you, and I'm not saying that I gave you this thought or whatever, but I told you, I was like, because you was an insurance adjuster, your perspective on selling a house
Yeah.
or buying a house for that customer is totally different than anybody else can offer,
Yeah.
because you've been on top of houses, under houses, seen the worst of the worst. You know something that the average person is not going to know, or that the average agent is not going to know. But that starts with the ear,
Yeah.
the blade.
Mhm.
That's that entire process, and I've seen that walked out.
Yeah.
And you're like, even with your company, you started off selling houses. Now you got people selling houses under you that you're
Yeah.
advising.
Yeah,
You know
man.
what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I see it walked out. If it was one thing from this, as we kind of close it out, one thing that you would leave with the Dungeon family about, steps and stages, what would that be?
I'm just off the top of my head, be thankful for the blade.
Mm,
And I'm saying that because if you're not thankful there, you won't continue that process.
mm,
You know,
right,
you won't continue to walk in that process God wants you to walk in, so you can see the full corn in the ear.
right,
So you have to be grateful and appreciative for the blade wherever you might be in that process. Just be thankful for that
right.
space that you're in. Yeah,
The small steps,
small steps,
small
man.
steps, small steps, man. I think that's good.
Oh
Um,
man, that's so good. Yeah,
yeah, people who would like to find you. How can they find you? People who want to even maybe reach out to you. Maybe it's about real estate.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's anything else, dealing with things you do. Like can you tell people what you and your wife do with the Hill in Orangeburg, and
Yeah,
then
man.
tell us how people can find you, reach out to you if they need any real estate needs too. Yeah, Ed, I got a couple people that's gonna call you here soon too.
Gotcha, man. So, man, I first of all, let me before I even go there, man, I just want to thank you, Be Will. Like, you gave me that introduction. I did You kind of had me speechless, brother. So my my best friend B Will has seen me at my worst, my in between, my best, whatever you want to call it. Just that's my guy, best friend right there. Me and my wife, I'm blessed to be able to do ministry with my wife here in Orangeburg, South Carolina. We run a young adult student ministry in Orangeburg called The Hill. Okay, and we love those young adults. That's who we're called to at the moment. It's for the college students, or if you're not in college, if you're in between the ages of 18 and 28, come check us out. Be more than happy to have you. We're breaking for the summer right now, so if you want more information on that, I can give B Will my contact info. I mean, B Will has my contact info. Or if you want to reach out to me, just reach out to me on Facebook, Wilmont Berry, my personal page, or the Berry Group, brokered by EXP Realty on Facebook. I also got a YouTube channel as well, the Berry Group on YouTube, and on Instagram, the Berry Group on Instagram. So yeah, man, that's where you can find me. Like I said, I service the Orangeburg and surrounding areas, but don't worry about where you are. I got people that can probably serve you wherever you are. So yeah.
All
Mhm.
right, all right. So that's that. Now I got to shout out my boy Christopher Brown. Y'all see him on the
I
bottom right
see him.
there.
I see. I see Chris
Cheese is the
Brown out there.
third member of our our mastermind.
Yeah,
So he
that's my
gonna
guy.
be on here soon too. Don't worry, he gonna be on.
Yeah,
But Bear, also, man, I want you to kind of tell. I know you got some other enterprises you do in Orangeburg. I know you're trying to be humble. But you got something else that you and your wife just opened up. And can you talk about that very quickly, and then talk about the church you attend down there, because
Okay.
I know you got a dynamic pastor that's gonna be
Yeah.
on here
Oh
soon
yeah.
too.
Oh man. So yeah, me and my wife started a gymnastics facility here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, called Garden City Gymnastics. So if you got any kids and young girls or young boys interested in gymnastics, recreational gymnastics, um, please, you can find us Garden City, GardenCityGym.com. We have all of the times on there and services that you can find on there, GardenCityGym.com. Also, I attend CCI Church, Conforming to Christ Image Church. Pastor Hayward John,
Hayward
dynamic.
John.
That's a bad man. I'm just letting you know. Um, if you're free on Sundays at 10:30, come check us out. I'll be happy to have you.
Are
Yeah.
y'all online? Do y'all
Online, yeah,
Facebook? Right.
online, CCI on Facebook. Okay, Conforming to Christ Image on Facebook. Also, Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, you can catch the Bible study if you just want to check out the Bible study on Thursday nights at 7. So yeah,
Right. Good. Man, we appreciate you being in the dungeon, man.
man, I appreciate the invite,
You
bro. We
already
gotta
know.
we gotta
We've
do
been
this
trying to do
again.
this. You know what I'm saying? We've been trying to do this for
I know.
months now. But
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely appreciate you coming, dropping those nuggets, and it's gonna be plenty of people that's going to see this. So again, what I want y'all to do is like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button, so that anytime we posting something, you'll be first to see it. But I want you to make sure that you tap into Wilmont Berry, the Berry Group, on all social media platforms. One thing I'll say about him when it comes to real estate, he's willing to help you answer questions you may have. He's been doing a Facebook Live on Tuesdays
Tuesday at noon, 12
at
o'clock.
noon.
Uh-huh.
With two other real estate agents, and they're really sharing nuggets about the whole process of buying a house, selling a house, all of those different types of things. It's very informative. So I want y'all to tap into that. Garden City Gym in Orangeburg.
Yep.
We got to get Dr. Berry on here too.
Oh yeah.
Soon.
Gotta get her on here,
I
bro.
already know them nuggets. She got nuggets. She listen, she Chick-fil-A with them nuggets, boy. She got plenty of. So yeah, we're gonna be back. We're starting a new series, family, in 2 weeks. Starting a new series called "Dealing with Difficulty." All right, so we're gonna be talking about dealing with difficult news, dealing with difficult people, and dealing with difficult circumstances. So next time we'll be on, gonna start a new series called "Dealing with Difficulty." Man, Barry, it was a pleasure to have you on. Dungeon family, share, like. We'll see you next time in the dungeon. It's Dr. Williams signing out. May y'all be good.